Hi, Amy Lewis from News Radio KFBK from the Morning News Show here at KFBK. And I'm here with Brandon Hafley. Brandon is here with me for the Catalyst Report. Brandon is the CEO and president of Catalyst Mortgage, and it really is my honor to spend some time with him to talk about the things that are important to consumers. And the Catalyst Report is really a weekly series that's designed to sort of break down and simplify topics that sometimes people kind of find confusing. We want to break down your financial life when you talk about mortgage. So,
Absolutely, let's do this.
Here we go. So what we want to talk about this time around is, because last time we talked about teeter effect, the teeter-totter effect, and when is the best time to lock in a rate? Do you go high? Do you go low? How does that affect you financially?
Right.
But this time I really want to talk about rates, and when is the best time to lock in on a rate? So when's the best time?
Well, going back to the teeter-totter, the lower the rate, you have the higher the fees, the higher the rate, the lower the fees. It kind of goes into what do you want to spend and how long you're going to be in the home. So for example, as of yesterday, the Freddie Mac average was 3.44% for a 30-year fixed. Now that's with about a half a point in closing costs, plus title, escrow, underwriting, and processing. So you're talking probably around $6,000 in fees. Whereas if you take a quarter point higher, or approximately a little bit less, to a 3.625, you're completely zero cost. And going into what we said last week, the higher the rate, the lower the fees, because the more money the bank or mortgage lender makes on that loan. So to put it side by side, we took some notes here.
Yeah.
A principal and interest payment on a $400,000 loan is roughly $1,780 a month. Whereas if you took a quarter point higher in interest rate to a 3.625, you're currently looking at $1,824 a month.
Yeah.
Now that's only a $41 payment difference.
Let me just say, for the consumer listening to you, you just, because you know it so well,
I do.
threw off a whole bunch of numbers.
I agree.
For me, for the person who's thinking about doing this and not educated in this at all whatsoever, you spent years doing this, why is a quarter percentage point so important to me?
The difference in payment between the 3.44, 3.45, and the 3.625 is only a $41 difference. So you'd pay $6,000-ish, a little bit more in fees, to only save $41 a month. If you took the $41 divided by the $6,000 in fees, you're looking roughly 151 months just to make back your money. So put that in perspective, that's 12.5 years. And going back to what we talked about last week, people are only keeping loans, according to Freddie Mac, 6.7 years.
Yeah.
So essentially almost double it would take you just to recoup the fees.
Is it up to you or is it up to me to watch those rates?
To watch the rates, I would say both. We as consumers, I always urge people to stay connected to what the market's doing. The 10-year treasury yield, the higher it goes, usually the higher rate goes, the lower it goes, the lower rates go traditionally. But at the same time, your mortgage professional should be advising you and looking at your whole picture as to how long you're going to be in that home.
Sorry, I'm just still focusing on the 12 and a half years you said to make back my money. So how do you combat that then as a consumer?
Really deciding how long you're going to be in the home and if a 30-year with paying a lot of fees is really worth it. In my opinion,
Yeah.
always
Which
go
is
no
why
cost.
you're here.
I appreciate it. Always go no cost because people refinance. Life changes, college, you have unexpected, expenses that come up. Things change. Go with the lowest cost because you're not going to save or you're not going to stay in that loan really that 12 and a half years. That's just to break even, by the way. The profit, the benefit comes after that. So 12 and a half years just to break even on fees.
I got a question for you. How often does a homeowner refinance and why? I mean, do you refinance one time or do you take out a second loan or are they the same or what's the difference?
Well, really we've seen recently people have refinanced more because interest rates have dropped. You go back a few years, it was like 5 years was the average. Now it's 6.7 years is the current Freddie average. But people will refinance for, it could be cash out, home repair, remodels. I always discourage people from refinancing to buy a boat or buy a vehicle or something of that nature.
Yeah.
But when it's for true home repair or for college, etc., that's where it is worth it using the equity in your home and to leverage appropriately.
Well, that's a lot of really good information. I'm so glad we're doing this every week, every Monday. It's so important to know all this information before you kind of take that dramatic step. So you've heard about the teeter-totter effect. You've heard about when is the best time. Is a quarter percentage point as important? So now you know a little bit more information. We're going to continue doing this every Monday. So we'll go cost per cost to make sure that you are absolutely educated to the best possible level before you go in and make that very important financial decision. So be sure and listen to the Catalyst Report Mondays on KFBK. But every week we are doing this Catalyst Report with Brandon Hafley. Thank you so much, Brandon.
Amy.
And check out more information at catalystmortgage.com.